So once, I mean, the good thing is all the recordings have been converted to MP4 or the preferred format of YouTube. So everything else is there. It's just a matter of loading those recordings. Anyways, so today what we're going to discuss is, hold on, is requirements basics. So far what we have discussed is, what an SDLC is. What are the different phases of SDLC? What's the life cycle of SDLC? How a business analyst facilitates a project implementation from the planning phase all the way to the deployment, and supporting the deployment even after first few weeks or 3 weeks or 3 months. It depends. Depends on the size of the project, depends on the needs, depends on the complexity of the system. So you, the BA, will be playing a very vital role, just like a project manager, from the first step all the way to the last step. You're not like programmers who just chime in when the programming is required. Besides SDLC, we also discussed different flavors of SDLC, different styles of SDLC, which is waterfall, agile, RUP. So today what we're going to discuss is, this is pretty much in continuation of where we left off in the planning phase. If you remember, yesterday we discussed a couple of deliverables, which was a project plan and the project charter. A project manager will be responsible for creation and delivery of those two documents. It's his responsibility not to just deliver those documents, but to get approval on those documents. That's what a PM does. Now, let's say he has gotten all sorts of approvals from the leadership, and he has a green light to proceed. He has put together a team. You, the BA, have been brought on board. What do we do next? What's next? What's the next step? The next step is to finally kick off the project by starting the requirements phase. So you, the business analyst, will be responsible, not just responsible, you own and manage this phase. This is your show. This is when you come into picture and take control. So, let's say we start off next Monday. Who's we? The team, the IT team. We start off on Monday from the requirements phase, with the requirements phase. You are the BA. What's your primary responsibility? What do you think you'll be doing? How do you start? How do you start your day? Your initial or your primary responsibility is to get a good understanding of how the system will be structured. What is exactly the system all about? What are the different features and functionalities? What are the different things we'll be doing in the system? Now, I keep going back to the example of Netflix because, that's one application I use a lot. If I assign you a project to build a system like Netflix, what would you do? How would you start? You would want to know what this system is all about. Excuse me. What this system will be doing. What exactly are we supposed to do in this system? So it's an online streaming service. Great. What does it do? The user or the subscriber can stream videos and movies and TV shows. Sure. Can anyone stream videos and TV shows? No. Only the paid subscribers. Okay. What happens then? Somebody logs on to the app or the website. What do? First, they have to create an account. They have to input their credit card details. Once the account is created, once the payment is confirmed, They have pretty much signed up for a subscription, a monthly subscription. What happens then? Well, then this user is allowed to watch TV shows and movies and whatever he wants to do. Can he rewind movies? Can he fast forward movies? Sure. Can he download movies? Yes, as long as you are a paid member, yes. So who's asking all these questions? I'm asking questions and answering on my own, but who exactly in this scenario is asking all these questions? You, the BA. You, the business analyst, will be asking all these questions. You would want to know that what exactly the system is all about. So the first step in the business requirements phase is the elicitation and documentation of requirements. You are required to gather and document business requirements. What exactly is a business requirement? It's a high-level snapshot of an application. From a business perspective, from a user perspective, what does a system do? What does a system do? What does Netflix do? You know, there's a Netflix and then there's Amazon Prime. In Netflix, once you have the subscription, you can watch anything you want, as many times as you want. On Amazon Prime, I had a trial for 1 month, and then I just never, the free trial for 1 month, but I never signed up for it then. I didn't find it worth it that much. You know why? Because once you are in Amazon Prime, most of the content is paid. There's so many movies and TV shows and so much of amazing stuff out there. But for those movies and TV shows, you have to pay extra. So I didn't find it worth it, so I never signed up for it. Although free shipping is a great feature to have, and 2-day free shipping is great, but, well, no. I didn't feel like paying $13, $14 a month. Now, in this scenario, for Amazon Prime, who will tell you all this? Can you just make an assumption? That, hey, you know what? Some TV shows should be paid. Some of them should not be paid. You cannot make any assumptions. Business analyst is not in the assumption business. You do not assume anything. Okay, so you are asking all these questions, but who are you asking these questions to? Business stakeholders. Business stakeholders are the people who want you, the entire IT team, to build a system for them. Which you're willing to do so, sure. But first you need to understand what exactly is the project. So you, the BA, will be asking all these questions, understand the roadmap, understand the overall structure of the system, understand each and every feature and functionality of the system. Only then you can proceed. When you are gathering requirements, you ask them, hey, so all movies and TV shows are included? If they say yes, sure. If they say no, you know what? Some of them will be paid. Some of the premium movies, the new movies, will be paid at $4.99 or $3.99, depends on the pricing. Depends on the rating. Oh, well, that's good to know. If nobody tells you this, you will end up creating a bad product, an incomplete product. So it's your responsibility as a BA to get a very good, thorough understanding of the requirements, of all the features and functionalities in the system. If you don't understand something, you cross-question them. You ask more and more questions. But you fully need to understand what is being done here. As a BA, your first initial thought is to understand the roadmap, understand all the features and functionalities. If there is any room for confusion, clear that up. Don't bury it. No. So, just to summarize, your responsibility is to understand the high-level business requirements from business perspective, not from the technical perspective. We are not talking about technology here yet. Eventually we will, don't get me wrong, we will, but now, until now, no, we are not. You don't have to. That's the second step. So what's your responsibility then? Gather requirements, document requirements. Sure. You own and manage requirements for the project, by the way. Never say, you know what, I work on the requirements. You know what? Just don't say it. I don't like this term. People working on requirements. No, own and manage. Just say it. During an interview, I want you guys to say it. Who will you be working with? SMEs, stakeholders, technical people. Who are SMEs? Subject matter experts. People from specific teams who have a very deep knowledge, who have a very strong expertise of their own department. If I am working with people from Netflix or Amazon Prime, for example, and I ask them, okay, you know what, let's say an account holder or subscriber. Subscriber creates an account, and once he has a subscription, he can watch movies and TV shows. Yeah, I mean, sounds pretty great. So he can watch anything, right? They say, no, not everything. Only some few things. Rest of the stuff is paid. Okay, so what's paid and what's not paid? Or where there is a certain category which is paid, we will tag it as with a certain symbol, and there will be an extra charge. How much is the charge? So the people from their department who manage the pricing, who manage which content has to be priced at what amount, the people from those departments, the experts, they are called the SMEs, subject matter experts. This may or may not be the best example. Let's say you are building an app for a bank. And now, as part of that website or that app, you are including a functionality for credit card payments. Somebody makes a payment on his credit card. How does a credit card processing works? If I have a balance of $1,000 and I make a payment of 500, how will that reflect on my system, and how will the processing work and everything? How will I know anything? I don't know anything. I need representation from the credit card department. Those representatives are the SME, subject matter experts. You'll be working with them a lot. Business stakeholders, you'll be working with them a lot, because you will be asking them questions to understand the features and functionalities. Why do you have to work with technical folks? I'll answer in a minute. As a BA, you will be facilitating a lot of chat sessions. Again, pay attention to this word, facilitate. Don't say organize, don't say attend. Anyone can attend a meeting. If I send you an invite, you can attend it. But if I ask you to facilitate and run the show, that means something. Use the term facilitation of chat sessions, interviews, or workshop sessions to gather and document requirements. Say it. As a BA, you will be responsible for creating an RTM, BRD, TRD. They are just acronyms. So what do they mean? RTM is Requirements Traceability Matrix. We will discuss this today. BRD is Business Requirements Document. We'll discuss after 2 or 3 classes. TRD is Technical Requirements Document. We'll discuss this in future. I'll show you how it looks like. So far so good, guys. Any questions? Any thoughts? You with me so far? Excuse me. I think I shared this picture with you guys the other day. This is how a chat session looks like. An actual chat session. You know the guy in the blue suit standing in the middle? He's a BA. He's sharing his screen. Whatever he's typing on his laptop, he's sharing his screen with everybody. What's on the screen? Whatever conversation he's having with the team members, he's documenting, he's brainstorming, he's running the show, you can see. On the whiteboard, he has pasted listed the agenda. All the items they will be discussing in this meeting, he has listed everything. Very organized, you know. There's some more information he wants to share with the team. He has pasted a big picture, a big chart on the wall, just so that everybody can see it. Some facts and figures, some processes he wants to share. He puts it on the board so that everybody can see it. They're discussing the project. They're discussing ins and outs of the project. If they realize that there could be some potential risks, they're documented. Who's they? The team. Who's writing all these risks? The BA. You see that flip chart with open issues? That's what the BA will do. If there are any risks related to timelines or budgets or whatever, any deadlines, everything needs to be documented. And he will do so. So this is how a typical chat session looks like. All these people sitting around this desk, they are business stakeholders. Some of them are SMEs, and some of them are technical people. So, in a JAD session, a joint application development session, what do? You, the BA, what will you do? You will work with your project manager and put together a list of all the people required to attend this meeting. Let's assume that you are new to the project. You don't know all the key players. Okay, so you don't want to miss on anyone. You work with your PM and put together a list. Okay, that these are the key players. We need them for understanding the requirements and understanding the needs of the project. To all those people, you will send out a meeting invite for like 2 hours. You will send a meeting invite, let's say for Tuesday or Monday. Monday maybe. That, hi all, below is the agenda for our upcoming project. Let's kick off on Monday. And here's the agenda, and I look forward to meet all of you. How will you set out the agenda? Well, initially with the help of a project manager or based on your best judgment. What's an agenda? All the things you plan on discussing during that meeting, you will list them out. Module A, Module B, Module C. Module A will discuss for 30 minutes. Module B will discuss for another 30 minutes. Last 10 minutes, we'll just discuss the action items. So during a chat session, a BA will ask all the key questions. Let's say now it's Monday. You send out a meeting invite on Wednesday to everybody, all the key players with the agenda. On Monday, you all meet in a big room. You will ask all the key questions. First of all, you all will introduce yourself. You'll say that, okay, I'm the business analyst assigned to this implementation, and it's a great experience working with all of you, and let's get things started. Everybody around the table, please introduce yourself and your role and your department, and then we'll get started. Once you get started, you ask all the questions. To whom? To the stakeholders. You facilitate the brainstorming session. You are the one who is bringing up all the key questions, asking questions, and then once you ask these questions to business stakeholders and once they communicate what they really want, you check or you validate those requirements with the technical people sitting in the same room. If business stakeholders say that, you know what, we want you to build a functionality A and B and C, your job as a business analyst is to bring technical people in the scene and say, hey, look, we can build all this, but what do you think, technical people? What do you think? Can we do this? Is it technically even feasible? First of all, what about the technical feasibility? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Can we build this project? Can we build all these functionalities in the first year as we have committed? Yes or no? So you want the opinion of the technical people at the same time. Just because business stakeholders said that, you know what, we want all these functionalities, you cannot just blindly say yes to everything. You just don't. You check with the technical people and ask for their opinion. Is it technically feasible? Can we accommodate all these demands in first year of the implementation? Or allocated the allocated 1 year for implementation? Do you think we can build all these functionalities? What do you think? You're the showrunner, you're the facilitator. You ask question to one team, you get the answers from that team, and then you check with the other team and validate the technical aspects and the time schedule aspect of it. At the same time, you are the BA, you're taking meeting minutes. You're taking notes. You want to write it on a piece of paper? Fine. You want to type it and share it with everybody on the screen? Sure, great. Take meeting minutes, take notes. You'll do that a lot in most implementations. Once the meeting is over, based on the meeting minutes, you will be documenting the business requirements. You, the BA. You will document the requirements. Once the requirements are drafted, you will send them for approval and feedback. Feedback from whom? From everybody who attended the meeting. What meeting? The chat session. So, let me reiterate. Your first step is to put together a list of all the key players. Send out the agenda. At the time of meeting, you ask all the key questions. You come in prepared, okay? Always go to these meetings prepared with all the possible questions you have in your mind. When you ask all these questions, you also seek opinion of the technical team in regards to the technical validity or technical feasibility of those demands or those requirements. Okay, I don't like to use the word demand, so I apologize. These are not demands. These are expectations from the system. At the same time, you are the guy who will be taking the meeting minutes. Based on the meeting minutes, you document business requirements. Once they're documented, you send out the document for approval. Approval from all the key players who attended that meeting. Maybe initially it's not approval. Initially it's just their feedback, but approval will be given by your leadership. Once everything is all said and done, once you have a robust set of complete business requirements, your leadership will sign off, and then you can proceed. So far, so good, guys. Now, how does this document or these requirements look like? I'll show you. That's what we are going to discuss in today's class. The RTM, the first step. Yeah, Abhiram, I think you had a question. Go ahead.
Saying I'm clear as of now. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
How do the requirements look like? How are they documented? What verbiage do you use? They have a parent-child structure. What does that mean? First of all, business requirements are tagged as BRs. BR1, BR2, BR3, BR4, and so on. These are business requirements. And for each BR, you have a description, the actual requirement, In simple business English, you have to describe the functionality, the feature, what exactly you're trying to build here. So for example, if somebody is trying to build an application for Bank of America, application, or let's say a website, what are the requirements? The first requirement is that somebody, the account holder, should be able to log in. It doesn't even need to be a bank. It can be even for Netflix. For Netflix, what do? The subscriber should be able to create an account. Sure. So the BR1, the first requirement is the system shall enable account holder to log into the BOA account, Bank of America or Netflix or whatever. System shall enable account holder to log into the Bank of America account. It's a simple requirement that system should be able to let you in. Now the question is, should system let everyone in or anyone in? No. The user has to input user ID in the username text box. User has to input password in the password text box. User should be able to press the login button to log in. Why are we deliberately describing each and every step? Because we have to. You know why? Until and unless this is clearly defined in simple words, programmers will not start writing the code. Programmers need to know that what exactly is going on here. What are you trying to do here? What are we trying to do? We are trying to enable a user to log into his system. And how can a user log into his system? How can the system enable him to log into the system? How? He should be able to input his username. He should be able to input his password. He should be able to press the login button. As long as he's able to all of those things, he will be able to log in. Of course, there are some more checks and balances beyond this. The user, the account holder or the subscriber has to input the right username and the right password and everything, right? Of course, there are some checks and balances, but that's another step. Until and unless you tell the developer that there have to be 2 text boxes for username and password and then a button for login, programmers will not write the code. That's my point, guys. That's my point. You have to clearly define how the system will work. From a business perspective, from a user perspective, how the system will work. There will be a text box for username, text box for password, and then a button. Until unless it's clearly defined, programmers will not create it. So if you look at the first statement, the system shall enable account holder to log in. It's a very vague statement. It's a very broad statement. The system shall enable to log in. Okay, great. How? How does the system enable someone to log in? So the first statement is a parent requirement about having someone be able to log in. It's a parent requirement. Within this parent requirement, there are child requirements that how exactly this user will be able to log in or the subscriber will be able to log in. So the first statement, BR1, is the parent requirement, and within this parent requirement, you have these 3 child requirements. So BR1 has BR 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. You lump them together or you put them together and then there's a functionality for you right there. programmers will create a functionality for somebody to log into the system based on these group of requirements, and they are structured together under one parent-child relationship. The reason we are using this structure is to tell the developers that, you know what, all of these requirements together form a certain functionality. They link to each other, they have this parent-child relationship. You write the code for all of these requirements, they will give functionality for you right there. What functionality? That somebody who has an account can log in. Great. We'll get a little deeper into this. Don't worry. I'll show you some more examples and the actual RTM once I'm done with the presentation. So we'll get there, unless you have any other questions. Okay. So far we have discussed this business requirements, from a business perspective, how things look like. From features, functionalities, Netflix has a section for comedy. Netflix has a section for action movies, international movies. From a business perspective, user perspective, how does the system look like? You list down all the requirements. But you need to understand one thing here. Once those business requirements are documented and approved, those business requirements have to be translated into technical requirements. That behind the scenes, what exactly happens? You know what business requirements tell you? Business requirements tell you what needs to be developed. What? User login in. That needs to be developed. What? Okay. Technical requirements tell you how it will be developed. Now, you guys must be wondering that you don't have any much experience from the system. So, from the system perspective, how will you write these technical requirements? Once you have significant experience working on the system, you will have a good expertise and a good working knowledge of the architecture, and then you'll be in a position to understand the business requirements, document the business requirements, and understand things, how it will work from a technical perspective. Business requirements tell you what needs to be developed. Technical requirements tell you how it will be developed. How? What versus how? And programmers will write the code for the system based on the approved technical requirements. So the first step is to write business requirements. Business requirements are converted to technical. Technical is something you will be documenting and handing over to the developers, and developers will start writing the code. All the information related to data flow, graphical user interface, system processes. It sounds complicated, and to some extent it is, but it is doable. So don't worry. You're not writing code, okay? You're not writing any kind of code or programs. So for example, somebody's trying to log into his Netflix account, you input your username, you input your password, you press that button, log in. Great, you can log in. Let me repeat. System from a subscriber's perspective is letting you log in. You are a subscriber, okay? You have a Netflix account, active account. You input your username, you input your password, and you are able to log in. This is the business requirement. From a business perspective, what needs to be done to let you in? This all needs to be done. But how? How will this work behind the scenes? Behind the scenes stuff is the technical requirements. This information, when I input, guys, try to understand this. When you guys go to the Netflix website, you input your username and password, and then press the button. You're successfully logged in. Do you think it just happens just because the credentials are right? No, it's not as simple as that. Those credentials, your login credentials, are behind the scenes sent to the database, compared with the database. If the combination is correct, only then you are allowed to log in. If I input my username and somebody else's password, I will not be able to log in. This combination is also very important. So who will make that determination? The system. System will take that information, compare it with the database. If the combination is correct, I am logged in. If the combination is not correct, I will not be able to log in. So behind the scenes stuff, that the combination of username and password will be compared with database 123, is called the actual technical requirement. Business requirement is just the requirement from the functionality perspective. But behind the scenes, how it works, how the data is compared with what database, that is called technical requirement. And with experience, you will get good, you'll get there. So don't worry. I'll show you some examples, don't worry. So we'll discuss everything. Make sense, guys? Are you with me so far? I need to know what's your level of understanding so far. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm good, Joe.
Okay, great. What database is being used here? How the system, how this web session is linked to that database? Of course, it's a very technical conversation which you will need to have with the technical folks, so that you can document it and present it to the technical team or the developers, and they can start writing the code. Now, I know I have said this quite a number of times, but I'm going to repeat it again. You may find it annoying, but I'm sorry, I have to. Just to make sure that you fully understand what I'm trying to say. Being able to log into Netflix, being able to watch movies on Netflix, being able to download movies on Netflix, from a user perspective, is the business requirements. Okay, what all features and functionalities does this system have? But how are these movies streamed? From what database the information is pulled? How things are structured in the database are called technical requirements. If I want to watch international movies, that information will be retrieved. I mean, the movies just don't reside anywhere, okay? They're not on your screen. The movies, all that information, all the videos are somewhere saved in a certain database. When you want to watch an action movie or any comedy movie, you want to watch The Godfather, sure, you can watch Godfather, that's fine, but that information is stored somewhere in the database. When you select that option, it retrieves that information from the database and then presents it to you on your home screen. That is called technical requirement. How will that interaction work? How will that data transfer work? That is called technical requirement. Now, there's one more type of requirement. You know, this business and technical requirements are called functional requirements, because we are talking about the functionality. Okay, they are functional requirements. What are non-functional requirements? You know, if you want to use Netflix, you need to have a certain amount of minimum internet speed. You cannot watch Netflix on anything you want. I hope you all agree. You need to have a basic minimum internet speed. You can watch Netflix only on at least, iPad version number 4 and iOS version number 9, whatever. I'm just making that up, by the way. If your iOS is not updated, your Netflix app will not work. If your internet speed is below a certain limit, your app will not work. I mean, I am an Apple iPad user, so I'm using the term iOS. But for Samsung and other Google Android users, there is a um, certain version of the um, um, what do they say, the operating system. Okay, the operating system version which they release from time to time, there has to be a minimum operating system version which you should have installed on your iPad or your notebook or whatever, or your phone. Only then you will be able to watch or browse any content on Netflix, or at least, or even, just open the app. You can even open the app if the operating system version is below a certain level or below a certain version number. Internet speed, operating system version. If you want to browse a website, if you want to see a website, sure, you can watch it, you can browse a website on Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, but there has to be a minimum internet speed. There has to be a bare minimum Internet Explorer version number. If you are using a laptop from 2001 and you never updated your laptop, your website will not even work. It will crash. So these aspects of the system, the supporting aspects of the system, are called non-functional requirements. They have nothing to do with the functionality. Internet speed, iOS version, all these things have nothing to do with Netflix as a functionality. As an app, they have nothing to do with it. They are just supporting the system. These are called non-functional. Will you, the BA, will be gathering the non-functional requirements? Most likely no, because it's very technical in nature. You will just get these requirements. I mean, I'm using the example of Netflix or any app or anything. These non-functional requirements will be, communicated to you by the networks team or whatever. You work with them, you document them, and that's it. They define the operation of the system rather than the behavior, rather than the actual functionality. They just define what is the bare minimum infrastructure required for the successful functioning of your application. Anything related to capacity or response time or internet speed or processing time or any of that stuff is called non-functional requirement. So let me repeat: logging in to Netflix, watching movies on Netflix, downloading movies on Netflix is all business requirement. Technical requirement is where will this data be stored? How will the data be retrieved from that database? What will happen in that session? All that stuff is the technical requirement. What versus how? Okay, technical in nature. These all are functional requirements. They're talking about functionality. Okay, about the app or the website or whatever. But just to support this application, just to support the system, there are other functionalities which ensure this system or application of yours works out successfully. These are called non-functional requirements. Processing speed, response time, internet speed, iOS version number, or any version number constraints are called non-functional requirements. Systems team will be defining these. You have to gather them or document them, and then you're good. You don't have to get too much into details. They're highly technical in nature, so that's fine. Do you understand the difference, guys? Are you guys with me so far? What do you think? There are some tools out there to store these requirements, like Rational Requisite Pro, Doors, HPALM. These are typically used in waterfall methodology. Rally and Jira are used in Agile. I'll show you how Rally works. Unfortunately, other tools I don't have access to. I don't have a license copy, so I just cannot show you. but these are very simple to use tools, and you can document and store requirements there so that anybody who wants to see the requirements can log into these tools and see the requirements. Okay, so you document your requirements on these tools. Okay, especially for bigger projects, these tools offer a lot of advantages. It's not necessary that you have to document all the requirements here. It's possible that the client you work doesn't even have access to these tools. But as I said, I'll show you Rally doing the Agile class. Some best practices about requirements, whether it's business, technical, or non-functional. Make sure your requirements are complete. If business stakeholders expect you to build a system, they want you to build a system which is complete. Okay, nothing should be left. You cannot just come back and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we have spent all these millions of dollars and thousands of hours of work, and we have built a system, but yeah, we are not sure if all the requirements have been built. So can you please check? No. You have to cross-question them. You have to, who's you? The BA. And who are you asking these questions to? Stakeholders. You have to cross-question them, ask them, understand, fully understand all the requirements, and so that you can deliver the project which is complete. And that will not be possible until unless requirements are complete. Requirements should be easy to understand, very simple, in simple business English, so that anybody who's writing code based on those requirements can fully understand what they are. They should be traceable. What does that mean? I'll answer that question in next few classes. How to create traceability between requirements and test cases, it will be answered then. They should be independent. Don't lump too many requirements together and create a complex requirement, and it's hard to understand, and developers end up writing code based on their understanding, and it ends up being a bad product. Okay, so there should be very clear, concise, understandable, independent, not lumped together. That's a good practice. They should be testable. If by reading a requirement you understand what it means or what it does, you should easily be able to test it. You know what this functionality does? Okay, so I know what it does. Let's test it. I know how to test it. It should be that way. Okay, so it should be very testable. Of course, it has to be technically feasible. You cannot make any overcommitments to the stakeholders, and they keep asking you that, can you build us functionality A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you keep saying yes, 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 yes. No. Technical people have to be pulled into the scene. They provide their input. If it's technically feasible, then you commit to it. If it's not technically feasible, you don't commit to it. And you explain why. Why is it not feasible? That's your job, the BA. Make sense, guys? Are you with me so far? Can I start discussing the RTM, the actual business requirements? So far, so good?
Yes.
So, let me reiterate. You are the BA, okay? You will be responsible for gathering all the requirements. All business requirements, all technical requirements. And later on, maybe some non-functional requirements. Business requirements will be based on your understanding of all the features and functionalities. What all features do you want us to build? What all functionalities do you want us to build? Who's we? The IT team. You, the BA, is representing the IT team. All features and functionalities. That's business requirements. Then you get a little deeper. You try to understand how the system is structured, the technicality of it, how the database is structured. You work with technical people and try to understand how the system is structured. Then you get a little deeper and convert those business requirements into technical requirements. And while you're working on these requirements, there may be some non-technical requirements here and there which you will also document. All of these requirements will go to their specific formal documents. Business requirements will be part of BRD. Technical requirements will be part of TRD. I'll show you the examples. We'll get there, so don't worry. Any example I share with you for TRD will not make sense because you have not worked on any of those systems, so that's okay, but you should know how it is structured, how it looks like. So you are responsible for gathering and documentation of requirements. How are the business requirements documented? How do they look like? This is how they look like. The first step as a BA, after facilitation of a JAT session, taking all the meeting minutes, and based on those meeting minutes, when you write the requirements, the first step is this, whatever you see on the screen. Based on your understanding, based on all the notes you took during the JAT session. Now, in the industry, this is a pretty standard format for an RTM. RTM is Requirements Traceability Matrix. You know, a few minutes ago I said requirements should be traceable. I will not answer that question today because it won't make sense. You know, at this point it won't. Eventually it will. When it will, when we discuss the test cases, and I'll show you how they are traced back and forth. Anyways, so in the industry, this is how an RTM looks like. Requirements Traceability Matrix. Okay, you have, based on your understanding, you have to document all these requirements. Understanding from where? Based on the conversation you had during the JAT session and all the meeting minutes you took. Okay, project name is Bank of America Online Portal. National Center, your location, San Diego, name of your project manager, some brief description of your project. These requirements you see on the screen are documented for bankofamerica.com website. You know, let's look at this. I think my screen, hold on guys, I'm sorry, I apologize. Okay, I hope you can see my screen now. And I think I accidentally muted myself, so I apologize for that. Anyway, so this is the website for bankofamerica.com. You know, the basic functionality on this homepage is for the subscribers or the account holders to log in. They input their username here, input their password here, press this button, they are logged in. Sure, it's simple. But before this simple functionality was built, somebody had to fully express what they wanted the system to do. And who's they? Or who's somebody? The stakeholders. And then there was an individual who took notes and fully understood what needs to be built. Who was that person? The BA. So before this website was built, during the chat session for this particular website, there was a conversation between the business stakeholders and the BA on how this functionality should work. BAs would ask, okay, so what does this website do? It's an online banking portal. Okay, but what does that mean? Well, it's an online portal where all the account holders of Bank of America can do certain things. What things can they do? Well, a number of things. They can check their accounts, they can wire money, they can transfer money, they can pay their credit card bills. Great. Anyone can use this website? Sure, yes, but they need to have a valid account. Account with the bank. How do they use this website? They have to log in first. How do they log in? Create an account. Okay, once they have created an account, what do? They input their username. Where? In a text box. Where is that text box? On the home page. What else? Their social security? No SSN. Password. So they have to input their username and password. If the username and password is correct, the combination is correct, the account holder can log in. Okay, great. Can I have username as D Bindra? Yes, you can. Can I have my password as D Bindra? No. Why? Well, password should have at least one number and one uppercase letter. It should be at least 8 characters. Who's telling you all this? The stakeholders. To you, the BA. Sorry. So, based on this conversation, you will document BR1. Business requirement 1. This is the BRID. The description is, the system shall allow the user to log into the BOA account. Read this first. The system shall allow the user to log into the Bank of America account. What's the status of this requirement? Oops, sorry. Initially, it's in progress. What's the priority of this requirement? Based on your judgment, you the BA, when you have understood all the requirements, you have documented all the requirements, you have to prioritize the requirements. That which functionality is the most important, which functionality is not very important, which functionality is absolutely critical. Based on your best judgment, you have to tag them as high priority, low priority, or medium priority. If you look at this website, logging into the system is very high priority, because if this functionality is not working, the user cannot do anything. Compared to this link which says contact us. It just gives you the email and the phone number and all these things for the bank. I understand this is important, but not as critical as user logging into the system. So, my point is, you the BA, business analyst, will have to make sure once all the requirements are documented, you have to prioritize them. So that the developer, once he starts writing the code, he goes only for the high priority first, and then medium priority, and then low priority. Any architectural design or any design document you create pertaining to these requirements, you specify the name of that document. I just made that up. Design underscore BOA underscore date 4/29/2018. There are design documents for pretty much all requirements. If there is any, that's fine. If there's not, that's fine. You just specify the name of the document. What is a system component? It's a web portal. What module are you working on? User login. So read this first line, this row number 7. BRID is BR1. System shall allow the user to log in. That's a requirement. Status is in progress. Initially, everything is in progress. Once it is, the programming is done, programmer will change it to testing, and then testers will test it. Once it's fully tested, no bugs, no defects, they will change it to completed. So that's the status. Priority is low, medium, high, depends on the functionality. Name of any design document pertaining to this requirement, you specify it. What kind of component system is this? This is the web portal. What module is this? This is the user login module. Other columns we are not going to discuss today. We will discuss in future. Okay, we will discuss in future when we start testing. And that's when I will tell you why it is called traceability matrix. Anyways, so first requirement is the system shall allow the user to log into the Bank of America account. Within this parent requirement, there are all these child requirements highlighted in yellow. You know, whatever is highlighted in maroon is parent requirement. All you see highlighted in yellow are the child requirements. You want to see what they are? System shall be able to input username in the username text box. System shall be able to input password in the password text box. So these are two child requirements. Okay. Within this child requirement, 1.2, there's another grandchild requirement, 1.2.1. Password should be at least one number. Password should be at least 8 characters. Password should be at least one uppercase character. Look, when you go to this website, when you create an account, can I have a password called ABC? Is that a valid password? No. They won't even allow me to create a password like this. They won't allow me. There are certain restrictions that it should be at least 8 characters. There should be at least a number. There should be at least a special character. Why? How come there are so many restrictions? Because it is coded in such a way. Programmer has coded all these rules that if you want to log into the system or create an account, it should be 8 characters. It should be at least one number. It should be at least this, at least that, all of that. These rules are coded in the system behind the scenes by the programmer. Why? Because business stakeholders want this. They communicate it to you, the PA, you document it, programmers start writing the code. So, the one you see highlighted in brown or maroon is a parent requirement. These two are child requirement. And within this 1.2, there are grandchild requirements. You document all those requirements. Initially, everything is in progress. Eventually, it will be moved to testing, and eventually, it will be completed. These are high priority. These are the design documents. This is the web portal, user login, whatever module you're working on. This is documented. User shall be able to press the login button. 1.3. This is the third requirement. Within this parent requirement, all of them. They are pertaining to one functionality. Hold on. Oh, sorry. Does it make sense, guys? So far, so good. Just like that, there's another requirement, BR2. User shall be able to transfer money from his account. Same thing. Priority, module, user best judgment. This is money transfer. Sure. User shall select the account from which the money will be transferred. User shall select the account to which money will be transferred. That's what you did, guys, right? When you transfer money, first you select from which account you want to transfer, then you select to which account you want to transfer. You add the account number, you add the routing number, you specify the amount. If you have $500 in your account and you're trying to transfer 1,000, can you do so? I don't think so. You cannot. System won't let you. Why? Because there are rules coded in the system in such a way. If you have 500, the max you can wire is 500. If you try to wire 1,000, there should be an error message. Insufficient funds. Wire transfer unsuccessful. All this is discussed and documented during JAT sessions and requirements gathering sessions. This is what you do as a BA. Whatever you see on the screen today, these are called business requirements. Makes sense, guys? So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay, what questions do you have? Any thoughts, questions, comments? That's all I have to discuss. Let me stop the recording, and please feel free to unmute yourself, and then if you have any questions, please go ahead.